So hey there, I am back. This is Brent Smith. I'm the Common Constitutionalist, and I'm back doing a video podcast, a weekend video podcast. And it's kind of nice to be back. Been having to do audio podcasts and different things, and it's just things are getting back to normal, I hope. Whatever normal is, I don't know. I'm not quite sure what that is. But at any rate, today we're going to be talking about caravans. Yes, indeed. Illegal migrant caravans. I guess they're just migrant caravans. So that's what we're going to be discussing, and all about the migrant caravans and what a worthy cause it is and all that other nonsense today on the Common Constitutionalist Weekend Podcast. Welcome back. Yay.
You are listening?
No, you limey. They're not listening. They're watching.
The Common Constitutionalist, broadcasting from an undisclosed location, free from the prying eyes of establishment-backed helicopters.
Alrighty, so I'm in the woods, and this area brings back a lot of memories for me. We could do I'm going to just do a quick scan, and I'll explain why it brings back so many memories. So this is basically some woods, I don't know, half a mile from the house, something like that. And doesn't look like a whole lot, and it isn't. It's down by the river. And we all set up here. Yeah, that seems about right. At any rate, the reason why this brings back memories is that when my kids were littler, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, something like that, through those years, we used to come back here with about a group of about a dozen of their friends. And we used to do airsoft gun wars. And it was so cool. We'd put on camouflage, we'd play capture the flag, escape, all sorts of stuff with airsoft guns. You wouldn't have to wear helmets, but you could wear a hat, a jacket or long sleeve shirt, because these airsoft, I mean, they wouldn't hurt, but they'll make a little red mark if they hit you. And everybody had a variety of weapons. We must have had about 24 airsoft guns at one point in time. And we would come down here, and I'd camo face paint up the kids, and we've got some pictures. I don't think I ever got any video, unfortunately, but we got some pictures, and I have a couple of night vision goggles that we used for an escape. It was a contest where two guys would be held prisoner, and it was right at dusk, where it was dark back here in the woods, and it was awesome. The two guys that were captive, and they had like 4 guards, and these guards would pace around the compound back a ways, back in the back of the woods there, and we made a compound, and they'd pace around this compound at regular intervals and stuff, and so the captives could figure out where the guards were, and they would be issued the night vision goggles. And so when it got dark enough, they would plan their escape, and then they would escape, and it was fun. It was a great experience for the kids. They weren't allowed the weapons, but the guards had the airsoft weapons. If the guys got shot or recaptured, then the game over and somebody else would try it. So that was fun, but capture the flag was probably the most fun because it took the most teamwork, and that was great fun for the kids, and it taught them a good lesson in teamwork. A lot of fun. If you've got young boys, particularly, not the girls wouldn't want to do it, but boys just gravitate to this stuff, and it was a lot of fun. Me and a couple of parents would come down here, and I would lay out the grids and everything, and I was on a couple of teams, and that was fun. But that's why the memories come gushing back, because this was the battleground. Anyway, speaking of battlegrounds, got my notes. Let's see if I can hold to it. I haven't done a video podcast in a little while, so we'll see how this goes. So we're going to be talking about the caravan ponds, and that'll make a lot more sense. Maybe it makes sense already. So let's talk caravans, shall we? Not Dodge caravans. I'm talking about illegal immigrant caravans. Although I guess since they never actually made it to the United States, they're not illegal immigrant caravans, they're migrant caravans. And they weren't even really migrant caravans, as we'll see soon enough. And I'm talking about the obviously world famous now caravan of what, 1,000 or 1,200 people that were they're crossing Mexico and trying to make it into America. All right? So everybody knows that, unless you've been living under a rock, or back here in the woods with no phones, no internet, no nothing, you got to know about this caravan nonsense. And so, yeah, some who view my videos are not of the right-wing persuasion. Let's just leave it at that. And so you're probably thinking, oh great, here we go, right-wing whack job, me, is going to dump on the poor undocumented immigrants or migrants or whatever. No, that's not the point of this. As a matter of fact, it has very little to do with the actual migrant march, for want of a better term. And I didn't realize, and maybe you people did, but I certainly didn't, and I consider myself relatively well informed. These things have been going on since like 2010. They've been organized, and these marches through Mexico into the United States, or attempts to get into the United States, have been going on since 2010. But I haven't heard, until this last adventure, I haven't heard of any of this stuff. I don't recall any national or international press covering this stuff until now, where everybody's now covering it for obvious reasons. And I certainly don't remember a single instance where a reporter was actually embedded in the migrant community that's marching toward the border. I don't recall that ever happening. So this is from Snopes. You know, Snopes, the fact-checking website, who consistently finds that every claim from the right is bogus and every claim from the left is basically gospel truth. And that's the way Snopes is. They claim to be a fact-checking website, but when you start reading their stuff, it's, yeah, sure, they get facts right every once in a while, but what is it? The watch, a stopped clock will be right every 12 hours or whatever, twice a day, something like that. But of course, Snopes is impartial. That's what they claim, and that's what the left claims, and anybody who reads Snopes claims that they're completely impartial, like factcheck.org and those nonsensical places. So anyway, they write, quote, BuzzFeed News reporter Adolfo Flores traveled with the group this year, and it was his reporting that Fox and Friends referenced in the segment that appears to have inspired Trump's interest in the matter. Because Trump didn't know anything about this, naturally. Maybe like Obama, he gets everything from the nightly news or from, you know, the Washington Post or something. So while BuzzFeed's, and this is still Snopes, while BuzzFeed's reporting implied that a few may attempt to actually cross the border illegally, this is a largely inaccurate characterization. Now dig this. The main goal, as in years prior, is to draw attention to the dangers inherent to fleeing violence in Central America by creating a mass request for asylum, unquote. So they admit that the goal is not to get these migrants to safety in the U.S., it's to make a political statement. And believe me, it is a political statement, and we'll cover that in a little bit. And just how do they make this statement? Well, do they travel to Guatemala and Honduras and tell the people honestly that they're forming a caravan, not to go to America, mind you, all right? But don't worry, because we're really just trying to make a statement about refugees and fleeing violence, which is exactly what all these people that want to leave Central America and come to America, that's what they want to do, is they want to make a political statement about refugees and fleeing violence. They don't actually want to get to safety. They just want to make a statement. Yeah, okay, that makes perfect sense. But of course it's a complete and utter lie. What they're actually trying to achieve is an international incident, particularly now that Trump's the president. So the key is to embarrass the president, to get egg on his face, and not to deliver you migrants to safety. That's the key. Now, do they say this honestly? Yeah, I'm sure that was. I'm sure they. This is exactly what they tell the people when they're trying to escape the violence in Central America. All right, quote unquote. And yeah, there's plenty of violence in Central America, and I don't doubt that some of these people are in fact trying to escape the violence in Central America. Why they have to come to the United States to escape that violence is beyond me. But that's neither here nor there. It's not about them. It's about the whole process, and as we'll get into it, it's about the organization. Do the organizers, the people that organize these people to march to our border, do they tell these people that are trying to get away from violence and get into America, that's their ultimate goal, evidently, at least we think it is, do they tell them that once the goal of making a political statement and creating an international incident and to put egg on Trump's face and to make him look like the bad guy, that once that goal is achieved, that we're going to cut you loose? Regardless of where you are. We could be north of Mexico City in the desert or something like that, and when we are satisfied that we've made the political statement that we want to make, we're just going to say, see ya, we don't need you anymore. Are we going to put you on a bus and take you back to Honduras or Guatemala? Are we going to take you up to the border? Who knows? You know why? Who knows? Because there's never any follow-up to this crap. There's just a big splash, make Trump look like a bad guy, make the American people look like bad guys, the ones that don't want to accept these people into their homes because we don't know who the blank they are. And then once they're finished using these people up, they cut them loose. That has to be what happened. Because they're not going to take, what are they going to do? They're going to build a city for these people and have them live in safety somewhere in Mexico? They're not going to do this. They're there for one purpose. The people that are organizing these events, and that's what they are, they're political events. The people that are organizing these things don't give a whit about the migrants themselves. They claim to, but they don't. So I mean, it's like, like sitting down with Juan Valdez here that wants to get away from Honduras or Guatemala and get out of the violence or something like that. Are you promising them that you'll take them to America, or are you telling them basically, you know, you don't mind being a meaningless pawn, do you? You know, once we get what we get, we're going to cut you loose, but you don't mind marching like a 500 miles just to make a statement, right? Because that's what it's really all about. It's not about your safety and health. It's to make a statement. You don't mind that, do you? And then once we cut you loose, you're pretty much on your own, wherever you happen to be, of course. And I'm sure you could get captured by the cartels and sold into slavery. You could get beaten. Your women could get raped and sold into sex slavery and whatever, or killed. But hey, you know, that's the price you pay for advancing the socialist agenda, or whatever agenda, the borderless agenda that they've got. So how about it, migrants? Are you up for the challenge? Who's going to sign on for that nonsense? So it has to be that these people are being promised that they're going to get either that, or the alternative is these migrants, so to speak, are being paid to do these marches, to make these political statements, to stand up and shake their fists in the air and say, you know, world without borders or some other crapola. So we're going to take a quick break, and I'll be right back to talk about more fun with caravans. Yay. Yeah, baby.
You're watching the Common Constitutionalist video podcast.
Yeah, baby. Yeah. All right. So, welcome back. Again, I'm Brent Smith. I'm the Common Constitutionalist. This is the Weekend Common Constitutionalist podcast, and welcome to it. Nice to be back. And one of these days, I'll actually be able to come out here without a dadgum coat on. And we're heading into like the second week of April, and it's 40 degrees with a wind chill factor of 31. if you're in the wind. That's why I picked a nice low area back in the woods, so I'm protected from the wind. So, because you know, if you've watched any of these podcasts, as the wind goes by the camera, it's like a daggum freight train going by, and it drowns my voice out. If you're thinking what I think you're thinking, you're saying, yeah, great, it drowns his voice out. Hooray for us. So, whatever. Okay, so I'm sure that this is what happens. I'm sure that the organizers, if in fact all these people aren't in cahoots and aren't being paid by someone, and we'll get to that in a minute, to march up to the border or close to the border or make a political statement and then just go home or whatever they do. I'm quite certain that these people, if they are legitimate migrants, now we can't call them illegal immigrants because until they cross our border, they're not illegal immigrants. They're just migrants or wanderers. You know, I don't know, like Moses in the desert. They're just wandering through the desert. And all good. I'm not gonna compare this guy to Moses. Whatever. I'm quite certain that if these people are legitimate migrants, that they are being lied to and they're being made promises to be delivered to America, the land of flowing with milk and honey or something, you know, like the Moses thing. And freedom, of course, and safety, and free money, and whatever else we can provide for you, Mr. Migrant. And at that point, they'd become illegal immigrants. The fact is that George Soros, gee, where have I heard that name before? Has never made a humanitarian gesture in his entire adult life. I'm quite certain of it. He, more than any other radical leftist, only thinks in terms of his own warped agenda and how it can be advanced. That's the only thing this guy ever thinks of, George Soros. He is the devil incarnate. I'm telling you, he is. And why? I guess for the 1,000th time do I bring up the name George Soros? Well, and the they, you know, when they the organizers of this, and they and they, who are the they? The they is a group of so-called volunteers called Pueblos Sin Fronteras, or People Without Borders. Shocking. That doesn't sound radical at all, does it? No, of course not. It sounds perfectly reasonable. Sounds like something that the founders would have thought of. Yeah, People Without Borders. Egads. They organize these caravans, which are, quote, intended to help migrants safely reach the United States, bypassing not only authorities who would seek to deport them in Mexico, but they also bypass gangs and cartels who are known to assault vulnerable migrants, unquote. Well, that sounds great, and it sounds all humanitarian stuff, right? Well, wrong-a-rooney. It isn't humanitarian, and here's why. These organizers are not volunteers, and Pueblo isn't a humanitarian group. And there's a bug climbing up me. How cool is that? Yeah, I'm outdoorsy. Woohoo! So if I was Survivor Man or who was that other guy? The English dude? I would have eaten that bug. But if I'm out here doing a podcast, not eating bugs. So anyway, again, the organizers of Pueblo are not a bunch of volunteers. They're not a humanitarian group. They are bought and paid for. And how do I know? Well, that one's easy. It's funded. The what is it? Pueblos Sin Fronteras, or People Without Borders, is funded by who else? George Soros, of course. Nosferatu. And actually, Soros, if you shaved his head and put some Vulcan ears, some Spock ears on him, he would look exactly like Count Orlok from the movie Nosferatu back in the 1920s. And if my kids are watching, no, I did not see the initial showing of Nosferatu back in the 1920s. They tell me I'm an ancient dude, and I guess compared to them, I guess I am. At any rate, it was the vampire movie, and again, look at Nosferatu or Count Orlok. Picture George Soros with a bald head and Vulcan ears. and that's Count Orlok. I'm telling you, it's the same dude. So anyway, it's mine, and yeah, it's mine and many others' opinion that this particular caravan, this particular one, before, all right, notwithstanding any of the ones before, going back to 2010, this particular caravan had nothing to do with asylum or getting these helpless waifs from Mexico into the United States. Nothing at all to do with it. This one was organized and heavily publicized for one reason, and to cause, and like I said before, it was to cause an international incident and to make Trump look like a bad guy. That's it. And any of his supporters look like bad guys. It was to cause the world to turn, it was to try to cause the world to turn against Trump and America to turn against Trump and just make him look like the evil SOB that the left says he is. That's the way, this is the only purpose of this dadgum caravan. That's it. And the reason why I know, because they had no intention of making it to the American border, to the southern border. That wasn't their intention. Their intention was to make a statement. And again, if these people were bought and paid for, that'd be one thing. But if these freaking people in Pueblo, whoever the crap they were, hold my tongue, Dopes Without Borders, yeah, baby, lied to these people, that's just despicable. But that's what these people are. They're just freaking despicable. Despicable. And like the Pueblo whatevers, George Soros doesn't give a rat's A about these migrants either. They're being used as pawns, and I'm absolutely certain, if they're legit, that they have no idea what they were in for when they started this journey. That they were probably told, if this was legit, and these people are actually migrants from Central America that were bussed up to wherever the crap they were, dropped off, and then said that you're going to march over the border, this is what they thought was going to happen. They were left completely in the dark, and that's a crying shame. And I can't blame them. How can you blame the migrants from wanting to get out of a war-torn or cartel-owned zone and get into the safety of America? You can't blame them for trying. Are you kidding me? If I was that desperate, I would probably try too. I mean, if I was from a third world, hole-in-the-wall country, that had, you know, that the chances of me dying are probably 50% on a daily basis because of the cartels and because of the gangs and everything and all the other violence that goes on and all the other corruption that goes on. I'd want to get my family out of there too as quick as I could in any way I could, and I would jump at the first chance. So you can't blame these people. But these people, if they are legit, they are being used by these people, George Soros and these other organizations that he funds, because he's an evil SOB, and I can't stress that enough. He just is. God, he's just an awful person. And the leftist media outlets right on cue are ready to do his bidding. And wonder why? Well, here's why. Mother Jones. They are the infamous globalist-backed Democrat propaganda outlet, and they called American citizens who are against the invasion trolls in a headline which read, quote, "Trump and trolls target caravan of migrant families," unquote. This is from Mother Jones. Who's Mother Jones? Well, researchers at CNS News in 2013, that was 5 years ago, reported that Mother Jones is a news outlet of the Foundation for National Progress, I wonder if that sounds leftist enough for you, or FNP, the left-wing umbrella organization that exists to publish and support Mother Jones. It also founded the Media Consortium. Other members of the consortium are some more conservative websites like, say, The Nation, Alternet, and the American Prospect. Freaking gads. So these places are ultra left-wing, and they're all funded by Soros. CNS News continued back, and this is back in 2013, 5 years ago. So just imagine how much more money they've gotten and how much it's been ramped up since Trump has become president. The FNP received $485,000 in Soros funding just in 2008. The media consortium, also still under the umbrella of FNP, has received $675,000 since 2000, and that was a span of 13 years. Now you got to add another 8 on top of that, or another 5 on top of that, and again probably ramping up as Trump was elected. And that adds up to about $1.16 million over that 13 years. And this is just one outlet. And this is all from about 990 different forms of the of Soros's Open Society Foundation. 990 forms of it. Egads. Since 2000, Soros has given away more than $550 million. Now this is from 2013. So you got to add another 5 years onto that. And then the last year and a half, you've got to add on. It's probably increased exponentially since Trump they're probably piling it in since Trump has been elected. Since 2000, Soros has given away more than $550 million to liberal organizations just in the United States through Open Society. And again, how much have they gotten since then? How much have they gotten since Trump has been elected? Like I said, it's got to be ramped up like you can't believe. And if you've ever looked, and kind of in closing here, because I'm about done talking about this, God, this guy, I hate this guy. It's just, he's such an evil SOB, it's unbelievable. And just the smile on his face, that smug smile on his face, you just want to, I'll hold my tongue. Whatever. And isn't it interesting, if you've ever seen video or still photos of either the Muslim refugee invasion of Europe from last year or 2 years, starting a couple of years ago, I think 2015 it started. If you look at still pictures of the masses, thousands and thousands and thousands of these Muslim refugees invading European countries, or you look at these marches, this last Caravan march, 90% of these are males between the ages of probably 16 and 30-something. There are very few females, there are very few families, very few children. Relatively few anyway. Like 90% are all males, a lot younger than me, and probably my kid's age, something like that. And they're all marching in lockstep, and they look really, really healthy, which is interesting. You'd think if they walked this far, they wouldn't be that healthy. So that's about all I got. This is the Common Constitutionalist signing off, and we'll see you next week. God willing, and the creek don't rise. Hey, look, there's a creek right there. See ya.